Good, beautiful day. Fall is in the air. The maple blaze trees here in Spudlandia are just exploding in colors. It's so gorgeous. Welcome, Pax et Bonum, my unlistener. May the peace and goodness of God warm your heart and strengthen your soul. May God's Holy Spirit renew your mind. Amen, amen. The impact of Charlie Kirk's assassination continues to roll onward to shape American society and either challenge or invigorate the church. Today, with my friend Mark Cummings, we will chat together and we'll plow through some interesting ways of framing what we see going on in American church and in America's culture. But first, did you know that the UU has a web page? Yep. www.uncensoredunprofessor.com. If you go there, you can find the books I'm currently reading, a library listing of all 438 shows I produced to date, a link to reviews and recommendations of the UU. There's another link, 2 links to a couple sermons I preached. And by the way, I'd be delighted to come to your church. I'd love to come to your business and think critically and carefully with you about our lives in Christ here in late 2025. On my webpage, I also have a link to my Patreon page where you can make a gold, frankincense, or myrrh monthly pledge, $10, $20, or $30 per month. I'd love to get one of those treasures from you. Gold, frankincense, or myrrh at Patreon, Patreon. And then another thing I want you to know is that the UU Cast o' the Pod can be accessed via the following applications: iHeart.com, Spotify, YouTube, Overcast, Podbean, Radio.net, iTunes, and many, much more podcasting websites. Pretty much anywhere that puts out, processes podcasts, you can get my show there. Also, today I would love to share with you about my corporate sponsor and, hey, my listener. I'd love to have your company as a corporate sponsor. Contact me at www.uncensoredunprofessor@gmail.com to discuss the possibilities on that front. And you know this, but there are reliable first-rate ways to do things, and then there are the paste and glue, sloppy patchwork, duct tape ways of doing things. Those paste and glue, duct tape temporary fixes, honestly, in the end, they always cost you more money. They take more time later on, so do it right the first time. If you live in Southern California and you have roofing problems, call Gallerini Roofing at 714-244-6567. They are so esteemed, they were just written up in a local newspaper article down there, you guys. This is an expert, pro, experienced company. They do residential and commercial roofing jobs. They're bonded, licensed, insured. They have decades worth of experience. And they know how to do the job with excellence and professionalism. So again, give them a ring at 714-244-6567 and get the job done right. Gallerini Roofing is a proud sponsor of the Uncensored Unprofessor. Hey, let's jump straight to my conversation with Mark about the ongoing effects of Charlie Kirk's murder. It's great to have Mark Cummings here with me again today on the Uncensored Unprofessor. Welcome, Mark. Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ed. Good to be back.
So you were gone on your trip, and the whole Charlie Kirk assassination happened, and you and I haven't had a chance to talk together about that. I'm curious to hear your impressions, what you see going on, the response, what it's meant, how you're processing it. I talked for 3 shows about it because I think it's significant for the time in which we live. But what's been going on with you? What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
It's been really interesting because it's not just some event and then you move on. It really is like you've crossed some kind of a Rubicon,
Yeah.
where it feels different, and there's been more pensive thought, more resolve, a lot going on, more than, oh, this is just another thing that happened with the endless things. There was a shooting, and oh, there was this at the school.
Yeah.
And so it's been more significant. Couple of the things that I think somebody mentions to me, as America gets more ungodly and further from God, you're going to have more characteristics of third world countries happen. Fraudulent elections, a lot more lies, a lot more violence. And so I'm thinking, is this something where it's just some lone incident like all the others, or is this a developing pattern where the fruition of which manifests itself? And so that's another angle for me where I say, I'm not surprised. What's sad is this is predictable. I see a pattern where, like in third world countries, you oppose anybody, you dehumanize them. They're not just your opponent, they're evil, and they're bad, and they're dangerous, and it's okay to hurt them.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing this pattern, so that I don't really think this is some lone incident. I see it as a developing pattern that concerns me in America.
Yeah, so Charlie's assassination was not a one-off. Like,
No.
Everything's going along pretty smooth, and we're having a little bit of disagreement.
Yeah.
And this time we vote Democrat, and that time we vote Republican. But it's all going along pretty whimsically. Oh, my goodness, a guy got assassinated.
Yes.
It's actually representative of something deeper, something more entrenched.
Yes, and if you look at it as the lone nut, the lone gunman, and just say, hey, this can happen any time. You get some wackos here and there.
Right.
It'd be one thing, but this just feels like more. And I'm looking at the response of the world, the outrage, the rethinking of a lot of things, the movement of things, that it's been pivotal in a lot of ways, unlike just another school shooting or something else where you say, oh gosh, that's terrible, and then you move on.
Right.
It's more significant than that, and I'm trying to parse out what exactly makes this more significant.
I agree with you, and I think, just to sort of play the devil's advocate for a minute, what I hear happening when there's a shooting of any kind, a murder of any kind, is that the guy was a nut. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't represent anything.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say it's always a he. We had that girl in Nashville last year. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
But let's just say he, because 9 times out of 10 it's a he. He doesn't represent anything. He's just a one-off nut.
Yeah.
Right? And that would be the generous read versus the side that would say, well, we got to get rid of all the guns. Let's leave that alone for right now.
Yeah.
He shot 3 kids and 8 adults, but he's just a nut. Yeah. He's not representing anything. Well, he did climb up on the college rooftop with a scope and shoot a guy in public, but really he's just a nut.
Yeah.
Don't assign any greater, wider meaning to the event than the fact that just a lunatic who had a bad attitude got up and shot someone. And I'm with you. I'm thinking, no, I actually think this is representative of something.
Yeah. I think the system would like this to just move on. Here's a nut. Too bad. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
We're not learning anything here, so just move on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people obviously are not moving on.
No. I watched so I've been posting since I fought the 3 weeks you were gone. My Facebook page was all bunged up. Mm-hmm. And turns out which everyone knows this, I'm a technological idiot. Because somehow, for reasons I don't know, I had clicked a button when I post that said only me, instead of it being public. And one of my listeners, thank you, Isaiah, said, have you checked to see if you've got the only button clicked only me button, or if it's for 3 weeks I've been fighting Facebook. So what I've done in the lieu of that is start posting more regularly on Twitter, on X, and hoping that my supporters and interested folks will go to X. So I've been on X.
Yeah.
And on X, of course, like Facebook, your daily feed comes through and you get different stories. And there was this story of this little girl, it looked like New York City, but I don't know, it was somewhere back east, whose either she or her mom had stolen some expensive purses from a store, and the police had tracked them down not far away on the sidewalk. And when the policeman came up to them, the little girl, who looked like she was about 11, went like almost demonic rage at the police. Like peel your eyeballs and ear holes back rage at the police, saying all these rehearsed things that 11-year-olds should never know to say, but she'd been around people saying. And I looked at that and I went, holy smokes, when she's an adult, where she will have raised her kids, which will be the third generation now of kids who hate the po-po, and hate Lord knows whatever else, and want to use the judicial system and God knows what else, the military system, to stamp down on us like a bug. I thought that's indicative of something. That little girl is a type. She's not a one-off. This is a cultural trend of a hatred for order and a hatred for authority, right? Which that's about as biblical as it can get when you unpack. And anyway, I'm saying with you that I think the Charlie Kirk assassination is a vivid manifestation of a no longer, it's brewing, but it's no longer brewing in the undercurrent. It is now openly public and visible. We hate authority. Anybody that we disagree with, or anybody who challenges our value system, we don't just want you to defeat you in a rhetorical argument. We mean to murder. We mean to end you. And I know a Christian should not be talking this way because I'm fomenting the fray, but I'm like, no. I think I'm seeing a pattern here.
It's a spirit of lawlessness, and it's increasing. A lying spirit, it's increasing. Those third world godless characteristics is in America today. And I'm like, I need to just stand back and see this as a developing pattern and just, Lord, what do you want me to think, say, do? How do I see this from your eyes, as opposed to, it was a nut, shoot, that another one,
When you say spirit of lawlessness, that's a phrase from 1 Thessalonians or Revelation?
I think it's Thessalonians,
or
yes.
It could be Jesus in Luke or something.
And I think in Thessalonians it's the man of lawlessness. But I think there is also, really, you look, when you start to see these mob thefts and mob riots, it's like, no, that's a spirit. That's, and I use it cautiously when I say demonic, because I know that man is fallen and he can do a lot of sin without it being a demon. Nevertheless, when you see lawlessness more characteristically spreading, moving, it's the normal response and that's one of the things I saw in this too, is as you see an increase in immorality, you also see an increase in a lack of civility. And it's predictable, and it's increasing, and it's just simply a fruit of a nation is less and less willing to be influenced by truth, morality, God, and we're seeing the fruits of it.
So lawlessness, I just want to press this button one more time. Normally, church folk can hear lawless or law or lawlessness and think, Old Testament covenant laws, or Old Testament dietary laws, or the laws, the laws that only pertain to Jews.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The laws that only pertain. Why would Christians want to force their moral sensibilities upon everybody?
Yes.
Don't you know that God's commands for morality are just for his own people?
Yeah.
That kind of configuration, where in fact what Paul's touching upon, and what I think you're touching upon, this is where I'm asking, lawlessness is actually that sense of chaos writ large. Like,
yes.
We no longer need heed any confines. We no longer need heed any laws that press down upon society, that make society civil. Those no longer pertain to us, lawlessness. So we don't have to make this religious law. It can just be a kind of frenetic, demonic appetite for disorder and chaos and rioting.
Yes. The natural basics of civility, of morality, of listening to one's conscience, of the obvious rights and wrongs. I'm seeing them not very obvious in a lot of people. They have seared their conscience, grieved the God's Spirit, trying to bring conviction upon them, and it's increasing, I think. So I think it's a pattern too.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people in the church are seeing that with you. I think they're seeing, well, frankly, I've been saying on my show, I think a lot of people who are undecided about religion or God are starting to have a kind of OMG moment, reckoning like, hey, this is a pattern.
Yeah.
This is a pattern, and it's being celebrated. Luigi Mangione walked up to that insurance guy in New York City and shot him at, I think it was 6 a.m. or 6:30.
Yeah.
And we had a whole bunch of people celebrating the assassin.
Yes.
Right? That's a signal about something in society, that people will celebrate a public assassin that way.
That is a window into society when you see the response too, I've always felt that way. Let's say, when you'd hear about some jihadist blowing up a restaurant, and then you wait for Islam to respond, and they celebrate, and I'm saying, okay, there's a pattern here. That wasn't alone. There's something going on here. Whereas if you had somebody, let's say a Christian, go into a bar, and it's a gay bar, and he shoots 10 people, the Christian church would say, this man does not, they would make sure, this man does not represent us.
And in fact, not only he doesn't he violated what it means to follow Christ.
Yes.
We would condemn him.
And so I'm listening to these people after the murder saying, this is okay, and even celebrating it and saying, okay, they have reached that point of dehumanizing people, demonizing their opponents, where they're not just a different opinion, they're evil and they're dangerous.
Yeah.
And we've gone, I think, from a nation that's Christian, I use that kind of quotes because that's very generalized, but
right.
a big Christian influence, to non-Christian and progressively anti-Christian.
Post-Christian.
Yeah. It's post-truth, post-Christian.
Post-truth.
And then you're like, wow, that's a wake-up call. There are people that don't just disagree with me. There's people that hate me. It wouldn't mind me murdered, because Charlie Kirk was not doing some awful things, questionable things. He had opinions, and if people disagreed with him, is one thing. But so I'm watching the response, and I'm sure it's not the majority of the people, but there was a significant amount of people that celebrated that I'm like, wow, those people are out there. They're voting. They're raising children.
They're teaching.
Yes.
Kids in public school.
Yeah. So it's part of a predictable pattern that I think is by design. There's an agenda that wants that. These are foot soldiers to intimidate. These are not exceptions.
Foot soldiers. So I'm slow as a Christian thinker and theologian. I'm slow to spiritualize everything because I grew up in it and it's kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
But they're foot soldiers of a spirit. And that spirit could just be a straight up demon or an archon or an archangel fallen. It could be, but it could just be a spirit of lawlessness.
Lawlessness, yes.
Right? A spirit that hates authority, a spirit that thinks it shouldn't have to answer to anybody, a spirit that thinks it doesn't owe anybody anything, any of their neighbors who live round about them, they owe them nothing. They don't even owe them the moral framework to not rob their purse store. They don't owe them that.
Yeah.
They are entitled to go in and rob $1,000 purses, $5,000. I don't know how much those purses were worth.
Yeah.
But they don't even owe it to that store owner to not rob her of her purses. That's a spirit. That's an attitude writ large that I think is sweeping through society.
I see it in the inner cities right now, the big cities, which is one of the reasons I've chosen to go more rural, because some of these are crazy, and some of it, there'll be a person that's been released 15 times that should have stayed in jail and hurt some people. So it's on both ends on the judicial side. Yes.
Ukraine girl had been arrested 15 times or something. I'm sorry, but you were saying.
So there's a pattern of not just some wacko or nut. There's a pattern where they actually don't feel like it's justified. These people were wronged. I've been wronged, so I can steal this purse. But the judges are saying they've been wronged. They just needed a break, so I'm going to let them go, even though they've committed 10 felonies.
Right.
And so we've got a pattern.
That's the excellent example. That's the excellent example. It's not even the person throwing a rock at an ICE agent.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the guy who climbed on a rooftop and, shot migrants in a van thinking he was shooting ICE agents.
Yeah.
It's the judge.
Yeah.
Who's letting that guy go multiple times because he thinks society has wronged that guy for arresting him multiple times. That's the deeper spirit of lawlessness.
Yes.
I mean,
systemic.
Charlie Kirk's murder was sort of an in-your-face, this is what I really am. But what those judges are doing runs way deeper, and it's way more of a grievous wound upon society to keep releasing that.
Yeah. Teachers,
serial criminal.
Judges, they are, many are fostering this mentality, false ideology that's creating this lawlessness. And
wow.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, no, it's indicative of a deeper sentiment, a deeper spirit, in a Christian framework of spirit of lawlessness.
Yes.
Wow, yeah.
Another thing I was thinking of is the Overton window of mature discussion may be closing. And I've thought this for a while. The Overton window is simply that window where a society deals with things through mature discussion and debate. That window is closing. As you get to more third world country godlessness of nations that literally have no God or atheistic, it's something where their political enemies and their opponents, they kill them, they murder them. So what was interesting about Charlie Kirk is he was such a proponent of having mature discussion.
Yeah.
And it's almost symbolic that he's reaching out to these people and trying to affect them in a era that's vanishing.
Yeah.
This Overton window is vanishing for mature discussion. It was like from a past thing that a new generation is not capable of if they have that lawlessness. Have you ever been around and had a discussion that just feels utterly fruitless.
Yes.
Because many of these people are trained to just emote.
Yes.
There's no reason.
Yeah.
And there's a pride. I mean, you combine ignorance and pride, and it's deadly combo. And they have been given a lot of pride or accepted it for their emotion.
Yeah.
Emotion alone. But I'm trying to speak, and Charlie Kirk was trying to do that. You're speaking concepts and ideas to people that have only been trained to emote.
Yeah.
The system wants that because you can herd them as sheep if they merely emote.
So your Overton Window illustration, there is a big chunk of the church on the left who was not bothered by Charlie's murder, or were okay with it, or who would say no one should be murdered, but I disagreed with everything Charlie said. And I would think, did you ever listen to him? This morning, Tanya was playing the 1.5 hour long video of Charlie at Boise State when he came here last year. No, it was this year before Easter. Yeah. And he would let people come to the front of the line who disagreed with him. There was a big crowd. From what it looked like to me, there was 1,000 people there. I wish that I had gone just to experience the thing.
Yeah.
But there were 1,000 people there, and the first people who got to come to the front of the line and speak from the microphone were the people who disagreed with him. Yeah. And I'm thinking, the people who were good with his murder or gave it a pass or celebrated, or the leftist progressive Christians who were like, yeah, well, you weren't nice. We talked about that. We talked about that before. Yeah. You weren't nice, so you had it coming. It's like, did you ever watch one of his rallies? Because the first people he let come to the microphone were the people who disagree with him. And some of those people would stand there for 15 minutes being totally emotional and largely irrational. Yeah. And the only times that Charlie would get absurd is when they would be absurd. Yeah. Otherwise, he was respectful of the argument they were making. He would try to address it with facts. Yeah. But he would let them come to the microphone and emote.
Yes. Yes. And it's almost indicative of, I mean, there was another era when we had minor differences and we'd work those out. We're coming to a world where there are two sides, and it's literally they live in a different world, a completely different worldview that's so far-fetched from just adjusting. Well, I think this would help, but you want a little bit more government doing it, and this old school type of thing. And it's like, no, it's beyond that.
No, that's not it anymore.
It's not that anymore. I see one of the responses is a Balkanization, which could be a good thing. There are some people that say, I just don't feel safe. I'm in another world.
Right.
These are not people that I can talk with and have mature discussion with. They're angry. They're emoting. So I'm moving to a place that I feel safer. And it's creating a Balkanization where there'll be more probably conservatives or leftists in certain areas, and that's one of the reasons I moved. Is geographically
from
that's not
California.
Always the answer.
Yeah,
because people, I believe as Christians, people say, God will have you bloom where you're planted, but I don't think He plants us. If He tells me specifically, I want you here, but if I have an opportunity to get out, I think about when the 12 tribes split. Israel had, the 10 tribes had nothing but evil kings. Yeah. And were carted away. Yeah. And yet Judah had a few good ones, and they, another 100, 120 years before they were carted away. Yeah. I'm like, if you move down to Judah, you just bought yourself a few generations. Yeah. And it's not always the answer, but I think sometimes, and I do see that happening with when mature discussion ends, I no longer feel the same safety, and I'm saying, I think I'm going to move because I don't trust them. They think I'm evil and dangerous. It would be one thing if they just simply disagreed with me, but if they think I'm evil and dangerous, I'm not sure what they'll let the government or the police or
Yeah.
whomever do to me
Yeah.
because I'm dangerous. And so it's gone from, non-Christian, post-Christians, but when it reaches anti-Christian, and I think
And spirit of lawlessness.
of lawlessness, yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard a quote that the person was saying, basically, it's one thing for immorality, debauchery, all these things to be hidden, and it's another thing when it's celebrated openly.
Yeah.
And when that happens, Christian persecution is not far off.
Yeah.
And so I think what's happening right now is a major spiritual conflict. All these others, they're overcoming the repository of morality in America
Yeah.
that took a while to erode, and it's reached the point now when they can openly celebrate sin, celebrate immorality.
Yeah.
And now they no longer want to be tolerated. They demand that we accept it.
And approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
so at that point, there's literally persecution and hatred.
So when Charlie was assassinated in the first couple weeks, 10 days, couple weeks, I was like, maybe that's the flashpoint that releases some pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe good people will go, oh, no, we can't respond that way.
Yeah.
That's not who we are
Yeah.
as Americans, as human beings, as people who walk on 2 feet. That's not who we are. But now that we're a month out, I'm like, no, actually, I see more assassinations coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate saying that. I don't want it to be true. But the conflagration, the spirit, the attitude, the Jimmy Kimmel, it's heating up. It's not, that didn't pop the bubble.
Yeah.
I think it's only indicative of a seething rage that is the undercurrent or the overcurrent. Yeah.
They're pressing for that. They want to express that.
Yeah.
They are outraged that we are not approving of them.
Yeah.
And so at that point, when they reach that point when they're outraged at us, they don't mind killing us.
Yeah. And you mentioned you moved from Southern California, but it's funny you say that, thinking it through, because in my 8 years of having moved up here, I've thought about it this way several times. My ancestors left Eastern Europe because of famines and looming political oppression, and they're like, we're getting out of here while the getting's good. So I followed in my ancestors' wake to make a move like that. But I've also thought this way.
Good.
Jesus told his audience, hey, when you see this and this and this and this, you better run for the hills.
Yeah.
You better pray the mountain falls on you rather than the cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. And I'm like, no, I read the tea leaves.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be there when the mayhem broke out.
So does God bless you by saying, oh, it doesn't matter if you're in all this awful environment, you're protected as a Christian, versus, you know what, the blessing I want to give you, I want you to have discernment, and if they persecute you in this city, flee to the next. And if this is happening, don't even come back to your house.
That's so good. Yeah.
And it's the blessing of the wisdom. So I look at it and just say, if I'm on a beautiful island, the water's rising and nobody else is seeing it rise, and I'm like, hey, I'm blessed. I'm noticing. It's a good thing to notice, but the masses won't notice.
No.
I can say, hey, there's a storm coming. Oh, no, there's no storm coming.
No.
Well, there's a few raindrops. No, there's been raindrops before. Okay, it's pouring, and I've already left a long time ago, and it says, oh my gosh, there's a storm.
Yeah.
And it's got to be drenching them. And I'm like, it's a reward if a person notices something.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get to the point where there are people that are stuck in a particular city or place, and they're going to be very similar to what we described before. There's a resting spirit, said, Lord, you'll watch over me.
Yeah.
But I think it's said in one of the epistles, Paul says, if you're a slave, you're the Lord's freedman. But if you can get out of your slavery, do that also.
Right.
In other words, don't be dumb. Don't have a martyr complex. If you can't get out, it's going to be a resting faith. But if you can get out, have the discernment to say, this isn't good.
Get out.
And just get out.
Yeah.
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 Because some people will over-spiritualize it and say, I'm in a dead church that doesn't preach the Word of God and waters it down. I'm going to be here and stay here and make a difference.
Yep.
And I'm like, there's times to just say, no, you won't make a difference. Get out.
Well,
Get out.
Not only on that specific one, but other dynamics. I have yet to see change effected by a faithful person staying in that institution. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being too pessimistic. I've yet to see a church turnaround or a university turnaround because a faithful person stayed. I'm not saying they shouldn't have stayed.
Yeah.
The Lord can tell them to do whatever he wants, and I'm not going to.
Yeah.
That's up to them, and I don't care. But the whole notion that I'm going to stay where I'm planted to make a difference, again, I think sometimes there's some false piety that gets piled on that.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure it always bears fruit.
Yes.
Which
I agree.
maybe that isn't the point. Maybe God still wants you to be there as a prophetic sign of faithfulness in the midst of a collapse or whatever's going on. But I've just never seen it.
Yeah.
Right? And I know people across, I could name 5 churches who were in that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just stay here and be faithful because somebody has to, and maybe that'll right the ship. No, it never rights the ship.
If everyone left, then what would it? Well, if everyone left California, what will it be? Well, it may be even worse, but I'm out of there. You know? I like that in AA they have the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think that's applicable to Christians. There's times that you can't change it. There's times that you can, and you need courage.
Yeah.
And overall, you need wisdom and figure out, is this something I can change or not change? And if not, do I want to stay? Do I want this? I talked one time on liberty, and I finished it up. There's a lot of different aspects to liberty in the scriptures, but one of them is geographic. And you can go to places that have more liberty. Does that solve everything? Are there any perfect places? Can that fall down to? Yes.
Yeah.
But there are places that are better than others. So I think if you can and choose to, I say there's sometimes where and that's why I called it a Balkanization. People are saying, wow, I'm a doctor, I'm a whatever, and I can't practice things the way that I want to in freedom here. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And God may use that, just like in the Old Testament, you have the sanctuary cities for other reasons, but I call them sanctuary states or cities where people can come to and say, there are more people here that believe in liberty and freedom.
Right. Goodness, decency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in case there's any young listeners, when Mark's saying Balkanization, the Balkans are a mountain range in Central Europe or to the east of Western Europe. You go up the Greek peninsula all the way up, the Balkans run up there. And the Balkans have been overrun by Muslims and other kingdoms across 4,000 years. And every time a different army runs through there, they get split up and splintered up and divided up and put into different civil wars than they had before. So the Balkanization is just a way to say that all these splinter groups get pitted against one another and divided and fractured and fragmented. It's just a horrible, horrible story, but it's a great reference point. Yeah. Sorry.
That's good. Yeah. I think Charlie Kirk was a great model in some ways, and I think that it may inspire and put some resolve in some people to say,
Yeah.
I never even thought about him or knew much about him.
Yeah.
So he goes into the lion's den all the time? Oh my gosh, the universities, isn't that somewhere you run from?
Right.
And I think some people are just kind of chewing on that, the whole idea of purposely changing your culture, bringing the kingdom of God down to earth.
Yeah.
Instead of, I think there's two things that inhibit that sometimes in Christianity. One is a focus only on personal holiness.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm going to just study me and becoming more spiritual, and because it's so fruitless anyway with the culture. Another one, for me, when I came to the Lord, the rapture was any day. And there wasn't time. You're polishing the brass on a sinking ship.
In terms of addressing cultural matters.
Yes.
Okay.
You're not going to change it.
Yeah.
It's so close.
Yeah.
So the only important thing that meant anything was evangelism.
Yeah.
Get him saved before it all wraps out. And so the whole idea in that whole culture was something where, no, you don't change this. It's all going to burn. And it was all something where there was no real emphasis put on changing culture. We're going to change this world by getting everybody saved. So evangelize. That was the simplistic answer to all things.
Right.
And so change the school system, change the this, the that. No, get him, witness to him and get him saved.
Right.
And so that was the focus for me. There was very little focus on changing culture.
No, one of the things I said while you were gone was that I do believe there's a revival afoot, and I just saw, 2 days ago, that church attendance is up 15% across the United States, which is just gigantuous, right? 15% across the whole country. I believe this. You and I grew up in an era where, like you just said, you evangelize people as part of or leading to a revival, and when enough people cumulatively turn their lives to Christ, the culture gets changed. I believe what we're witnessing now is people saying, I cannot abide a culture that is melting down like this. Oh my God, what do I do? My life has to mean more than being a consumer.
Yeah.
And so I believe there's a public quality to what we're seeing going on, an intentionally cultural, probably even an intentionally political angle to what we're seeing going on that I don't think American revivals have had in the past. And I don't want to discount those past revivals. What the Lord did was amazing and magnificent through all of them. That also a second Great Awakening especially led to a great social transformation, and they were building institutions to that end. But I think today may surpass that in terms of people, because of the public square being in free fall, because the public square is so characterized by lawlessness. I think people are saying, oh, I can't have my life add up to this. I've got to be involved in a way that makes a difference. I think there's a cultural footprint too.
That's good. I was wondering why that would be, that more people go to church because of this.
Yeah. I think that's my read of it.
Yeah.
I haven't found anything better of that in all my perusing of what Christian leaders are saying.
Yeah. There's definitely a rethinking.
Yeah.
And of those that have, they keep raising the bar of absurdity.
Right.
And I think it's one of those Rubicons where people say, no, this is, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, the bar of absurdity. Do we think it's in any way a surprise that we're watching trans shooters, trans murderers? They've already crossed the bar of what the basic element of what it means to be a human being, you're male or female.
Yeah.
Once you trash that, what modicum of reason, what orientation to reality is any longer there?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like, duh, this follows suit.
Yes.
That you want to be a furry.
Yeah.
Or you think you're a two-spirit.
Yeah.
And so basically unplugged from reality as everyone knows it to be.
Yes.
There's not much good that's going to come out of that.
Yeah.
Right? God bless everyone struggling with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I just think it's the public consequence of a total fracturing of reality.
Yes. Yeah.
Lawlessness. Again,
Lawlessness,
it's
yeah.
that spirit of lawlessness.
Yeah. I like the modeling he did and the value he put on free speech.
Charlie,
yes. And I think it's interesting. I had a couple quotes from the liberal news because the left hates the free speech because it's a format of speaking truth. They want to close things down.
Right.
They can't win arguments because their arguments aren't as good. They have to go to violence always, intimidation. Charlie used his platform to rail against others.
this is a quote.
Okay. Another one.
Say that one again.
Charlie used his platform to rail against others.
Okay.
Another one. He had a long history of contentious views and enjoyed courting controversy. So this is their explanation for that evil thing called free speech when you're speaking truth.
Yeah.
I like what somebody said. For Charlie, it wasn't hate speech. It was speech that people hated.
Right.
I.e. truth.
Right.
What's they're really hating, and so many times you get something where the world hates Christians, but they love God. They hate the Bible, but they love God. They can easily assign things like that.
Right.
But they hate his morality and his kingdom, but they love him.
Right.
I love free speech. I just don't like it when blah, 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 when it speaks truth.
Right.
And it affects people, it makes people angry. I'm hearing the concept of inciting. Did Charlie Kirk incite violence? So I could say, I went to a bakery the other day and had some donuts, but one of them was burnt. And I told my neighbor, and his neighbor goes over and kills the guy.
Oh, jeez.
And, of course, it's my fault. I incited violence.
Yeah.
And so what the world system is doing to counter the sharing of truth is if it incites anger, if it incites violence, it is my fault because I shared the truth. And so it's what they do to inhibit free speech.
Yeah. I want to come back to that, but I'm just thinking of in Seinfeld when Uncle Leo goes into the diner with Jerry and he gets a hamburger that's overcooked.
Yeah.
He asks, "Who's cooking back there, Goebbels?" Because he thinks everything is a way to get at the Jews. Like the cook burnt his burger because he, the customer, was a Jew. There's that notion that everything gets personalized, right?
Yeah.
But so the question then you're raising is, was Charlie inciting violence? And this is part of the public discussion right now, too. Do we see as much violence coming from the right or the left, right? That is the big talking point.
Yeah.
Well, it's equally both sides, and I'm thinking, listen, I'm not going to give any right-wing nut job a pass.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's equally on both sides. I think the rioting we saw 4 years ago was almost exclusively from the left.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think these trans shooters, you can't say a trans shooter's on the right.
No.
That is like saying, I put 10W40 water in my car's engine.
Yeah.
You can't. So, I mean, my take is not that I'm trying to excuse the right. I just don't think that mayhem is being fostered on the right the way that we see it in being incited on the left.
If people are honest, if hey, this conservative has just won this election, get ready for your city to be burned down.
Yeah.
It won't be.
Right.
They may not even send any police out.
Right.
Because they see patterns.
Right.
There are patterns if you choose to notice
Right.
them.
Charlie was assassinated, and public vigils and rallies were held all over the nation.
Yeah.
Charlie was assassinated and there was rioting and burning down of police precincts all over the nation. No, actually, we didn't see one of those.
Yes, yeah. Because theoretically, if we're going to fight the good fight, we could burn down Mormon and Jehovah's Witness and other churches we disagree with, because isn't that the cause of spreading truth? No, that's not an option. We have to use righteous means and righteous ends. We persuade men.
Yeah.
And the other side is not under that constraint.
Right. Well, apparently not.
Apparently not. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I hope the country heals and returns to decency.
Yes,
but
I hope.
Yeah.
I think there's another interesting pattern that I see in this is huge swaths of America no longer trust the mainstream media.
Yes.
And so it was a lone gunman, nothing to see here. We've investigated. Here's the box. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And now I don't believe every conspiracy theory, and I don't assume they're conspiracy just because they disagree with the mainstream media, although that's the definition that they want to use. But what I'm seeing now is people are asking questions outside the box.
Yep.
And so when they say lone gunmen, move on, there's all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And I haven't formed anything in my mind, but they're saying, wait a minute, what about this, this, and this?
Yep.
And I'm not hearing answers. What about an autopsy? What about a ballistics report?
Yep.
No, let's move on, people. Let's move on. Lone nut. And it's really encouraging to hear we have an alternative media now that says, hey, they answered the questions in the box that they gave you, but we've got 5 questions that don't make sense.
Don't add up.
And I'm encouraged that that's not just a couple of supposed kooks on the internet, but a broad band of people that a day after a propaganda or a lie, they're saying, what about this? Let's rethink that.
You're saying that's a positive development.
I think that's a positive movement because it challenges things. People would say, this is a danger. We're getting a lot of kooky opinions. And I'm like, well, if you have people that think outside the box, they will be labeled as kooks and they will be labeled as conspiracy people.
We're no longer just going along with the ministry of truth.
Yeah.
The bad part of that is trust is collapsing. I don't know if I can trust my doctor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can trust the government when it says, well, now we've removed all the food dyes, the harmful food dyes out of your food. I'm like, well, I think I'm for that. Yeah. I don't know if I can believe you that you did it. That's not a good thing. Yeah. But it's a good thing that people are waking up to the fact that there is a ministry of truth that would want us all to believe the spin is exactly as they put it. And I agree with you. I think that's a really healthy thing.
It is. And I that's one of the first things I notice now when there's something big is the adjustment of the narrative.
Yeah.
That the narrative now means power, and who controls the narrative controls a lot. And so I'm listening and saying, what's the agenda? Okay, given that agenda, what's the corresponding narrative? So if I'm looking at that, I don't assume that any event just happened. You know, people say, do you believe in conspiracy? And I'm like, well, I believe that evil men conspire.
Yeah.
Is that unbiblical?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. So do I believe every conspiracy theory? No. But evil men do conspire. And the idea that I'm kooky because something might have been planned.
Right.
I'm sorry. I have to tell those people, you've got simplistic thinking. You just assigned complete trust to the experts.
Yeah.
And or to the professionals. And I'm like, I think we should at least question or hear the other sides. What's nice is we now have a media that challenges a lot of that. And Do I believe everything? No, but I want to hear a few sides.
Yep.
And
No, I'm totally with you on that. And I have
Yeah.
all kinds of listeners and people at church saying, "What do you think about this? And what do you think about that?" And I'm like, my interpretation is always provisional.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always open to critique or tweak or new insight.
Yeah.
I'm not dogmatically committed to something or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, because trust was so ruined. It wasn't even just that the summer of George rioting ruined things, or that the COVID narrative totally ruined everything. It's that when all that happened, it started pulling back the curtain on things that had gone on earlier in American history, right? When the Bush administration, Bush 2 said, we're going in for WMDs, at the time I was like, well, we got to get those WMDs. And now, because of the summer of George and the COVID hysteria, I'm like, oh, there were no WMDs.
Yeah.
Oh, they wanted me to believe a certain spin so that this could happen and that kind of money could be made. And I wouldn't have been so willing to believe that the power brokers could do that to us until the summer of George and the COVID hysteria. Don't go to church and don't sing songs. The worst thing you could do for the health of the nation is to get together and sing songs about Jesus.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Wait, what the hell are you saying? How can you even be possibly looking us in the eye and saying that? That was a huge existential ice shower for me that made me have to go back and say, wait a minute. Anyway, going on too long about it, but
sorry to bring up this as an analogy, but there are people that take barium enemas. It's a special chemical that is put in, and it flows through your system. And they can look with an X-ray and find where it all goes.
They can find polyps and cysts.
So
and growths
I watch lies, and I watch where they go. Hey, this person fed it. That person did. And so some of it, when I see a lie that I know is a lie, I watch where it goes.
Okay,
so
that's good.
And real quick, I look at that analogy of the frog in the water, and I don't know if this thing with Charlie Kirk, the response, I don't know if when I saw the frog move, I don't know if he's ready to jump out of the water, America, or it's his last twitch before it dies. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for the first.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's perilous times. I had a friend once who say the Constitution is pretty sturdy stuff. It was built to abide, to endure some pretty crazy stuff. But man, it's so loud and it's so incessant.
Yeah.
The lawlessness, that spirit of lawlessness that, hopefully people wake up and jump out of the pot before they're turned into frog stew, right?
Yes.
Yeah, amphibious stew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks for thinking that through with me.
You're welcome.
Always enjoy having you on the show.
Thank you.
Got to do it again.
Let's do it again.
All right, thanks.